My name is Jeremy and this is the Ranger Project. Today in my Power Rangers commentary series, I want to talk about the utter sloppiness, with one exception, of the original 6 plus one more Mighty Morphin Power Ranger power transfers. So we started off with Jason, Zach, Kimberly, Trini, and Billy, and then a few weeks later Tommy joined the team as the 6th Ranger. Now, Power Rangers in the beginning is not the Power Rangers we ended up with. In fact, Tommy lost his powers because of a candle, and honestly it made as much sense as anything else, and the series was supposed to end in episode 40, which was Doomsday. However, even by episode 40, Saban knew that he had a gold mine on his hand, and the series just kept on plowing through. If you go online, you can actually find copies of the script where the Rangers literally decided to stop being the Power Rangers because Rita was defeated in the original version. However, Tommy was gone by this point, and because the series wasn't going to end, Tommy had to come back. The fans pretty much demanded it. So he did, but then he was all sick and puny for a lot of episodes, blah blah blah. Okay, this brings us to our first sort of power transfer. Okay, and this one was admittedly mandated by the Sentai and not an actor change, and this one was done pretty well. The Green Ranger powers died, Tommy disappeared for a few episodes, but then he came back as the White Ranger. This one was actually done well. But this isn't the type of power transfer I'm talking about. This was a power change. It didn't happen because of a change in the actors. Here's our first one, and this one is by far may not be by far the worst. It's bad. In the middle of season 2, Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Tweed Trang wanted to negotiate for higher wages. After all, these were the actors in the midst of what would become, if it wasn't already, a billion-dollar franchise. And the actors have even been recorded saying they were only making about $600 a week. No, I can't speak to how true this is, but I've heard that these three wanted all 6 of the actors to make a unified front and negotiate for higher wages. And that's not exactly what happened. So when they said, hey Saban, you should pay us what we're worth, he basically said, get out of here. They were dismissed immediately. So they were literally a Power Ranger one day and not the next. I've heard that they didn't show up to their ADR, which is a dialogue recording for when they dub over, basically. I don't know if they didn't show up or they were just simply fired and didn't do it. But in any event, ADR was the first to go. And this is why we have Rangers in the live action having their voices overdubbed. And it was awful. I'm going to show you a clip later here in a bit. And it's so staggeringly awful. I can't even fathom what they were thinking. We had stand-ins from behind. We had this shot of the Rangers in the stand-ins in like the sunny, far-off silhouette. I mean, it was terrible. This shot right here of what is supposed to be Trini is one of the worst dubbings I have ever heard.
We can't go to the peace conference. Not now.
Was that supposed to fool anyone? Now, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, they had a decent introduction. Jason, Zach, and Trini had such an appallingly bad exit, it's almost painful to watch. And then we have this scene of 2 sets of Rangers in the command center. We have 2 Red Rangers, 2 Yellow Rangers, 2 Black Rangers. Did they get to keep their powers? I mean, if we look at Beast Morphers, Jason still has a Morpher. Maybe they did. But more than that, once Rocky, Adam, and Aisha have joined the team, we just kicked them out. Like, bye, gone. We didn't let them hang around the command center for a minute. I mean, that's just... I don't know how they could have fixed this, but it did not work well. Kimberly was the next of the original 5 to go, and her power transfer was actually done amazingly well. It took place over several episodes. Amy Jo Johnson took part. This shows us that the show knows they can do it, and they can do it well. In fact, I would say that the only better power transfer might be from Kendricks to Carone in Lost Galaxy, which again I will point out took place with the actors' full participation. And I'm not even sure that one was better. The Catherine and Kimberly swap, that might be the best one they've done yet. I'm not going to address Billy losing his powers in the MMPR to Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers to Zeo transfer. I will just say that I don't think him no longer being a Ranger is a good idea. That's not the topic of this video, but since we're here, I think Tommy should have been Gold Zeo, Rocky Red, Adam Green, Billy Blue, Tanya's yellow, Catherine is pink. That should have been the case from the start, and just piece this footage together somehow. However, in the midst of Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers, we have a transfer of a Ranger who is not one of our original 5. Aisha left. In some ways, this one is even more egregious than what Saban did with Jason, Zach, and Trini, because Karen Ashley didn't have a falling out with Saban. She was still there. She was willing to film. She even asked, like, hey, I would like to leave. They promised her an arc, and then they gave her this. She was there, and they still did it poorly. We didn't even have her actress. We just had her character for 10 episodes, and Karen Ashley's last appearance on screen in new footage is of her hugging her Anna Shala that we see through the viewing globe. It just wasn't right. Now, here's what I think they should have handled it. What I would have done was when Billy used the power coins to age back up into grown-up Billy, they should have done the same with Aisha and let both David Yost and Karen Ashley as grown-up Billy, or Teen Billy and Teen Aisha, be in charge, the caretakers of the group. She still could have gone to Africa to retrieve her shard. She still could have found Tanya, sent her into the future or whatever. I don't know. The timeline of that's a hot mess. I think we can assume that Aisha didn't travel back in time to get her Zeo Shard the way Rocky did. But regardless, we should have gotten a better goodbye for Aisha than a child actress who, while she was fine, she wasn't Aisha. Ugh, alright. Billy's power transfer was bad. I can't decide if it was as bad as Jason, Zach, and Trini's, but it was bad. David Yost unfortunately left on very bad terms. He had been facing a lot of harassment on set, being called slurs, and one day he just left, which, I don't blame him. Good for him. It sucks for us as fans, and it really makes me angry that the crew, and I'm sure not all the crew, but there were members of the crew who treated him that way. Now, it does not seem that any of the cast did this. He still seems to be very close to the cast. But regardless, Billy's exit from the series was awful. It wasn't a power transfer, it was just an exit. But it was so terrible and so sloppily done, I still have to address it here. So, David Yost left. And honestly, I think I would have preferred it if they had just simply had the Rangers in the youth center, oh hey, I got a letter from Billy who's now in college. I would have preferred that. But instead, they brought in an actor who was an old man. Billy apparently aged up because of the time travel debacle in Mighty Morphin Alien Rangers. There was no voiceover. They fixed it with Old Man Billy going to Aquitar, and he met his fish girlfriend Sestria, who he had never even heard of before, and he decided to stay on Aquitar with her. Billy left the planet to go live on a fish planet when it was established way back in season 1 that Billy was afraid of fish. This one was just a slap in the face to the fans. Honestly, I suspect it was also a bit of a slap in the face probably to David Yost, but it was done very, very poorly. Now, Rocky's power transfer had an entire movie dedicated to it. I was in the fandom in 1997 when this happened, and I can say that Justin was not well received. I actually didn't mind the character of Justin. The only thing that I was worried about at the time is there were rumors that the entire team would be replaced with kids. Now, my nephews, who were Justin's age and lower at the time, and they were huge Power Ranger fans, they were not a fan of the idea of having a Kid Ranger. They wanted to see teens they could look up to in the role. Still, despite all of this, this video is not about Justin's role in Power Rangers. The Rocky to Justin transfer was a pretty good one. That was a decent enough storyline. Now, at this point, I'm about to end because Tommy, who's been around since episode 17, I think, he's getting ready to leave. And while Tommy, Kat, Adam, and Tanya, while their leaving was a bit rushed, it wasn't terrible. And I think this is primarily because the actors were still around. Now, it was well known in the fandom at the time. This was in the days of like the Power Ranger news groups. There was news everywhere. And it's since been confirmed. Jason David Frank wanted out, which is kind of ironic because he does not seem to want to not be out anymore. But he wanted out. The other Rangers didn't. But Saban said, you know what? We're clearing everybody out. We're getting rid of the whole group except for Justin. They even made the actors screen test with their replacements. This was confirmed to me via Nakia Burrise and Catherine Sutherland at Lexington Comic-Con a few years ago, and they did it, but they actually shared that they found out they were being replaced when they were screen testing with their replacements. But at least the actors were there for the handoff, and that seems to be a big key to having a good power transfer. Now, other than Justin leaving at the end of Turbo and Andros coming in with a new set of powers for In Space, there weren't really any more power transfers on screen. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Kendricks and Carone, that power transfer still did happen. That was due to Valerie Vernon's health issues. She actually left to finish her battle with leukemia, which 20 years later, she's healthy. She beat it. That and the Catherine Kimberly transfer, I think, are probably very closely tied for some of the best done transfers ever. The only thing that's at all awkward about the Pink Galaxy Ranger transfer was that initially Patricia J. Lee, that's Cassie, she was going to be the Pink Galaxy Ranger. However, she left when she found out she was going to be treated as a guest star and not as a Ranger actor. And this is why we have that very awkwardly dubbed morphed sequence at the end of Cassie's last episode in Lost Galaxy, where they talk about their own mission. She agreed to film that, and then Carone came in. Now, as much as I like Cassie, and I think it would have been really neat to have had Cassie take over, I still think that Carone had a much better arc going from villain to Ranger. The only thing I might have done differently that I would have really enjoyed to see would have been to have maybe Cassie there for one episode and then realize she needs to leave and Carone come in to replace her. That might be the only change I would make, and that's just because I like the idea of seeing Cassie as a third Pink Ranger. Alright, that's my thoughts on the power transfers. Some of them were handled great. Most of them weren't. So what are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like these videos, please subscribe. I do a commentary video every Friday, and I post just Ranger clips here and there as well. I'm trying to lose weight. I want to be fit enough to be a Power Ranger. Right now, I can only cosplay as Bulk, but my goal is to become Ranger fit. So check out one of these two videos. This one is Day of the Dumpster commentary. The one below that, chosen just for you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.